here we are. What we're going to do today is the regular grounding practice, close placement of internal sensation with the breathing, the environmental awareness, and then we're going to do some compassion practice. I'll try to leave some time for questions at the end. And I want to do a little something different with the compassion practice. So I want to add a little bit of forgiveness practice because everything is very, very challenging and tense out there. And that challenging and tense experience sets us up with a lot of negativity towards others. What happens is if we have that negativity towards others, we're actually contributing to the trouble rather than finding a way to calm the waters and pacify the challenging situations. So I'll do that as at the very end, and then we can have a conversation about it. Okay, so I think we can get started. To begin with, take a good posture. If you're sitting up, ideally you want to sit up because in this particular practice, if you do it lying down, there's a tendency to fall asleep. But if you need to, it's okay. If you're standing up, there's a tendency to move around. So let's work with the sitting posture if you can. If you're in a chair with a back, try not to lean back, but you can scoot your butt back to the bottom of the back of the chair, kind of brace yourself against that, and then be sitting up and not leaning back against that. Now, to tell if you're sitting up straight, you can just gently tilt from side to side. Now, you can't feel what centered feels like, but you can feel if you're a little bit left or a little bit right. So when you're in that Goldilocks position, not too far left, not too far right, you're centered. Same thing with leaning forward and back. You can tilt forward at your hips a little bit forward and back until you find that centered place where you're not forward or back. Let your be upright. You want your spine to be upright, not as rigid as a tent pole, but the image is a tent pole with the rest of your body just hanging loosely from it, like the canvas before the tent is pulled out. And if you let the back of your neck extend a little bit, you see how if I let the back of my neck extend a little bit, my chin comes in naturally. So then we have the ideal posture for the breath to come in our nose, down the back of our throat, deep to the bottom of our lungs. And then when we breathe out, you want to breathe in through your nose, if you possibly can. As you breathe out, it can come out your nose, and a little bit out your mouth is fine. Because as we relax a little bit and relax our jaw, we may find that our lips part just slightly. And that's just fine. So what we'll do is let our eyes gently close. Have that good posture. And now you can let your arms hang to your sides and leave the elbows where they are and swivel your hands up, palm down on your thighs, just behind your knees, separately. Or you can put your hands together, just right in your lap, just below your navel, one with palms up, one on top of the other. You can have your thumbs touching, but touch very, very lightly, as if you were holding a piece of paper between them. You want your knees to be no higher than your hips. So if you have long legs like mine, I cross my legs gently in front of me, about where my ankles are, because I'm sitting in a chair. If I were in a cushion, they'd be more fully crossed. If you have shorter legs, it's fine. Put both feet flat on the floor with your knees about as wide apart and your feet about as wide apart as your hips. And just be aware of your body. Fully inhabit your body. Feel fully embodied. From your feet, your legs, hips, torso, arms, shoulders, neck, head. Feel fully in your body. Now we'll sweep out any unnecessary tension by doing a sweep of awareness, a scan of awareness from the top of our head down. Notice any tension that you don't need to hold your posture. Just let it dissolve. Let your awareness dissolve the tension as much as it will, like sunlight hitting a snowflake on a leaf. It just naturally melts. Forehead, back of your head, eyes, ears, cheekbones, your jaw. Sometimes we hold more tension in our jaw than we realize. You can wiggle it a little bit. And you can also do an intensify and release practice. So if you feel tension in your jaw, you don't have to do this, but if you feel tension in your jaw, just clench your jaw, clench your face muscles for 2 or 3 seconds. Clench, 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 and then just let go. Be aware of your neck and your shoulders. Any tension you might feel, just let them hang there. And again, if you want to intensify and release, just clench your neck and shoulders for 2 or 3 seconds and then just let go. Let them drop naturally, don't push them down. Upper arms, chest and upper back, rib cage all around, stomach and solar plexus, lower back and deep belly. Again, we often have tension or deep belly that we don't even realize. Just without losing your posture, just let it be there. Let the tension melt away. And again, if you need to intensify and relax, you can do it for your whole torso. Just clench, intensify, hold, and let go. Hips and pelvis, legs, arms, hands, knees, calves, ankles, and feet. Clench your arms and hands and let go. Clench your thighs and calves, let go. Let your awareness drift down from your head, where we usually feel like our mind is, behind our forehead. Let it fall back and down, drifting down the back of your throat, behind your chest, like a leaf gently settling to the bottom of a pond. Down past your solar plexus, your rib cage. Down a few inches below your navel, just in front of your spine, in the deep core of your torso. Just rest there. Rest your awareness there. It's quiet down there. There's a little subtle movement as the breath goes in and out, like the gentle currents at the bottom of that pond. And with each out breath, just imagine that you're sinking down, your weight is sinking down, sinking into the cushion you're sitting on. Imagine you're sinking down through the cushion and through the floor to the earth. Breathe out and merge with the earth, as if your lower body is part of the earth and your upper body is an extension, upward, majestically like a mountain. Let your breath come and go as it will, shorter or longer, deeper or shallower. Be an observer of your breath, not a director. Just notice it coming and going like the wind. Let your mind open up, relax, and have an openness to whatever experiences might arise in your mind, like the sky that overlooks everything on the earth and accommodates without bias or partiality. Birds flying across it, clouds floating by. Body like a mountain, breath like the wind, mind like the sky. Let your eyes gently open. Look slightly downward, sort of at a 45-degree angle, without tilting your head forward. If we tilt forward like this, it gets drowsy. If we let our chin float up, we get spaced out. So with a good posture, just look down under your eyelids at the space around you, just a couple of feet in front of you and to each side. Soften your gaze. Your eyes are resting in a direction in front of you, but not focused tightly on a spot. Your body is in your field of vision as you look down. It's almost as if you could look inside your body and feel what it feels like as the breath comes in and fills you, and the feeling of emptying as the breath goes out. That will be the object of our attention. A general awareness of our posture and attuned to the internal sensation, the feeling of filling as the breath comes in, emptying as the breath goes out. You might notice the sensation as the breath comes in your nostrils and then fills your torso. And then your torso emptying and the breath going out your nostrils or across your lips. When your mind wanders into a daydream, because that's what the mind does, you're not doing anything wrong. Just notice it with a smile. Say, daydreaming again. And gently bring your awareness back to your posture and the sensation of filling and emptying as the breath goes in and out. We'll do that for a couple of minutes. If you get drowsy and your eyes close, just sit up a little straighter, open your eyes and look more straight ahead. Again, not fixating on a particular point, but just an open awareness. But mainly attention to the internal sensation of filling and empty. Sometimes if you've wandered into a daydream for a while, your posture tends to degrade and you tilt like that. Just smile when you realize it, reinvigorate your posture, and tune back into the breathing. Now we'll move to environmental awareness. Focus here is more on the out breath, but as the breath goes out, the awareness opens up into space. Notice what's in your field of vision, colors, shapes, and shades of light and dark. Notice the sound you're hearing, my voice coming from your device, perhaps the air conditioner, traffic outside, maybe birds singing outside. Notice sounds high and low, loud and soft, near and far. Possibly more subtle, notice smells. What does it smell like in your room? If you put on deodorant or perfume or cologne, can you smell it? Notice your bodily sensations without closing your eyes. Cool, dry air coming in your nostrils, warm and moist going out. Your body moving with the breath. Cloth or skin under your hands. Sit bones pressing into your seat. Feet pressing into the floor. Maybe you can feel your heart beating in your chest or the pulse in your neck, wrists, or fingertips. Notice your thoughts appearing in your mind. Your mind is the space in which thoughts appear. You have thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. Watch for the next thought to appear. Notice how it arises in your mind, dwells for a moment, and disappears. Watch for the next one. It's actually a kind of meditation in which you make the thoughts your object of meditation. Notice the patterns and textures. It's said that when we first start to practice, our thoughts move through our minds like a waterfall. It's not that we have more thoughts, it's just that they keep rushing through and we notice them now because we're not taken away by them into daydreams. Then they start to slow down like a gently flowing river. And ultimately, thoughts and awareness become one like the ocean and its waves. Let your mind move from sense perception to sense perception. What we're doing is using the tendency of the mind to wander and letting it wander, but all in the present moment, in the here and now. Sight, sound, smell, taste, feeling, and thoughts. Those are all happening in the present moment. We'll do that for a couple of minutes. And again, if your mind gets taken away into a series of thoughts, like a daydream, just smile, come back to the body and the out breath. The breath goes out and mixes with the environment. Your mind goes out and mixes with the space around. Now, as we start the compassion practice, you can leave your eyes open. You can look straight ahead. You can lower your gaze, or you can let your eyes gently close, whichever you're more comfortable with. But now, tune in to the feeling of your heart center. It's the center of your chest at heart level. And imagine there a clear crystal made of light. It's any shape that you'd like, but it's clear, it's made of light, it's crystalline. And it has transformative properties that when it absorbs anything negative, it instantly transforms into positive energy. So we're going to gather negativity into that crystal, and it immediately transforms, and the crystal radiates out positive energy. We begin with self-compassion, compassion to ourselves. Notice any feelings that you have of negativity toward yourself, shame, guilt, blame, frustration, anger, and any negative feelings you have, perhaps towards others that you don't want to hold, like anger and impatience and frustration. Your own feelings about that, not the other person, but how you're feeling. And any pain or illness that you're feeling, any kind of struggle or suffering. And all of that negativity, negative emotions, physical suffering, mental anguish that you're feeling, as you breathe in, imagine that you're gathering them all into the crystal in your heart center. And as you breathe out, the crystal radiates the cool moonlight of kindness to yourself, filling you with soothing relief, peace, and healthiness, contentment, ease. We breathe in and gather dis-ease. Breathe out and fill ourselves with ease. Breathe in struggle. Breathe out to ourselves relief, peace. Breathe in and gather our unhappiness into the crystal. Breathe out, and the cool moonlight of kindness fills us with peace and happiness. Now imagine you're surrounded by all of your loved ones, friends and family, people you care about. And it's easy to have that wish for them to be free from their mental anguish and physical illness. Breathe that in, the struggle and suffering from all of them into the crystal in your heart center. It instantly transforms, and breathe out and radiate out the cool moonlight of kindness that fills all of their beings with peace, contentment, ease, freedom from suffering, healthiness. Breathe in and take away their illness into the crystal and radiate out and fill them with healthiness. Whatever negative experiences they're having, take them away from them into your heart center crystal and radiate out, replacing them with the positive opposite. Now include more. Include anyone you've ever met. And this may be a little challenging, but anyone you've encountered, even heard about or seen through any kind of media, which includes lots of people in the world. People that you like, people you don't have particular feelings about, and people that you dislike, maybe a lot. And this is the challenge, and that is to understand that their anguish and suffering comes from the source of confusion, ignorance, and pain. So all of their bad actions, and bad speech comes out of that unfortunate life that they have in some aspect. And instead of holding anger to them, if we can remove that suffering, if we can remove their mental anguish, we actually pacify their negativity, pacify their aggression. So as you breathe in, as best you can, don't give yourself a hard time if you have difficulty with this, but as best you can from everyone that you can think of, positive and negative, take in, breathe in, and gather from them all the negativity into the crystal in your heart. It instantly transforms and radiate out freedom from anguish, freedom from suffering and anxiety, freedom from illness. Breathe in and take in the suffering and illness of the world into the crystal in your heart. It can accommodate everything and transforms and radiate out to the whole world peace, happiness, and healthiness. Breathe in the struggle, the anger and aggression into the crystal in your heart, and radiate out that cool moonlight of kindness that pacifies the storm of misery, suffering, anger, and aggression. And now, let go of the visualization and come back to just the calming, grounding practice of being in your body, feeling the breath filling and emptying. We'll do a few more breaths like that. And then we can have a little discussion. Before we have the discussion, when we do this compassion practice, we either proceed or follow it with an aspiration of 4 lines of what are called the immeasurable. They're called the 4 immeasurables because they're the immeasurably good and valuable attitudes or thoughts. May all of us, may each and every one of us have happiness and the causes of happiness. May each and every one of us be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May each and every one of us have access to that deeper state of joy beyond happiness and suffering. May each and every one of us have equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, and ignorance. And we also want to share in whatever benefit the practice has brought. Because doing it for ourselves, even doing the compassion practice, hoping that by pacifying everybody else, we'll have a better time. By just doing it for ourselves, it has power, but it's limited. But if we include others, it expands that power. So we dedicate whatever benefit comes from this practice by saying something along the lines of, may the practice I have just done be of benefit to others as well as myself. So let's say that together. I'm not going to unmute everybody, otherwise it becomes a cacophony, but I'll say part of it, and then you can repeat after me if you'd like to. May the practice I have just done be of benefit to others as well as myself. And of course, if we're feeling particularly generous or want to cultivate generosity, we can say, may the practice I have just done be of even more benefit to others than myself. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't want to have a benefit for ourselves from the practice, because the reason we're doing all of these practices is to clear and clarify our minds from the ignorance of confusion that causes us to cause ourselves and others suffering. But we have this motivation, this attitude that we're doing it not just for ourselves. So we do want to attain enlightenment, but the purpose is not just to free ourselves from suffering, but to be able to be of benefit to others. And that's the pure motivation from the Buddhist point of view. What I'd like to do is, I have one question that came in, and I'd like to read that and answer that, and then we'll unmute anybody who would like to be unmuted. We'll set that up. If you have a question and want to put it in the chat, you can also just write the word question and we'll unmute you. This is with the COVID surge, I'm struggling with my thoughts about non-maskers. Aversion is huge, the fear that they'll spread the virus to me and others, anger at their stupidity and ignorance, and dismay and sometimes despair about the lack of regard for others and community. And then finally, grief at the loss of civility in our society. So let's see. So we have fear, anger, criticism that they're stupid and ignorant, despair, and grief. That's a pretty good range of emotions. So we start for that with ourselves. But it's important to acknowledge them. I have something called the 4 A's, which is acknowledge, allow, ask yourself gently what's going on, and accept. So all of these are ways of working with our emotions and feelings, not denying them. And the whole point is to acknowledge them without suppressing or indulging. We don't have to get carried away by them and act them out, but you don't want to suppress them and make believe you're not feeling them. So fear is quite reasonable in this situation. Anger arises because of what we think others should be like. So we have to be aware of that. Anger about what others should be like. Instead, a little bit of dismay is not unreasonable either. But to say, okay, this is how they are. Clearly, there's confusion and ignorance going on. I need to do the best I can to protect myself. And what can I do to help without aggression, without imposing my aggression on them? Because that only gets increases the battle. If you talk to somebody and say, what's your problem? You know, I was at a bank machine and another person came up and was going to use the machine right next to me. And I said, hang on, that machine is, he said, but it's open. I said, but it's not 6 feet away from me. And he said, oh, you're one of those. And I said, and all I said was, yep, I'm one of those. And I thought about, saying, hey, buddy, you're not being responsible to other people. But I felt like if I went on the attack to him, it would only enhance his version of me, that I'm one of those. But by not attacking, it gave a moment of space that he might get the inkling of, maybe that's not such a bad idea. And there was another person waiting who heard our interchange. And I, as I got in my car to drive away, I noticed he hadn't taken that middle spot. There were 3 machines, and he was waiting. So, so that's something that you can do in that way, of not get sucked in to that level of things, and communicate as best you can the message that will help and protect others. So I hope that that's helpful. Lynn, I know you made that question. I'm going to unmute you. I'm asking you to unmute if you have any questions or comments on that.
That was helpful.
And I think, Pam, you were looking to unmute, so I'm going to open you up too. Pam, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. With the last practice that we did, I mean, how does it really help people who are suffering? I mean, because it sounds so, I mean, how does it really help people who are suffering when we're sending it out, when we're doing this Tonglen practice, when we're sending it out? How does it really help them?
Okay, so first of all, Pam used the word Tonglen, which is a Tibetan word, and Tong, I think the first half is sending and the second half is taking. I may have them backwards, but it is the word that we use for sending and taking. And so that's the gathering and radiating practice that we're talking about. So how does it actually help others? Okay. I don't have the personal experience of this, but supposedly greatly realized beings can actually take on that suffering from others and radiate out that kind of healthiness. As I said, that's what I've heard. I don't have a personal experience of that. But everything is interdependent. We're all interrelated. So to the extent that we essentially are sending out those vibes to the universe, it has some impact. And at the minimum, it helps others because we're not adding to the confusion. Someone asked me, it was funny, I gave meditation instruction to them for the first time, and they said, so what's the bottom line? When do I start benefiting from this? And I said, well, it starts immediately because for the 20 minutes that you're meditating, you're not out there causing trouble for yourself and other people. So there's a start. There's a start that at the very least we're stopping that, but also we're engendering this attitude and sending out this atmosphere. And if we practice it, then that's how we carry it through the day. That's how we carry it through to others that we encounter, so that the response doesn't become aggression, but it comes a natural response of saying, okay, I'll take that and I'm going to radiate out kindness and patience. I'm going to take the impatience that I'm experiencing. And this is the tricky thing about it, because we're also taking in the impatience we have toward them and transforming that and radiating out patience to ourselves. We fill ourselves with patience and kindness to the other person. Because responding with that kind of kindness, now, I want to clarify something. It's not what my teacher calls idiot compassion. Idiot compassion is being nice to somebody and reinforcing a negative behavior. That's not what we're talking about. That's like a kid asking for a third ice cream cone that you know is going to make them sick. Saying no is the compassionate thing. So sometimes in encountering people, saying no is what you need and what they need. But you need to do it if you can, as best you can. I don't want to say you need to. As best you can, do it because it's what they need, not your version of what they need. Do not impose your version of how they should be on them, because that's just joining into the aggression. And make sure, this is kind of a trite saying that seek to understand, first seek to understand, then seek to be understood. So that's really important in this context of finding out what's going on, because as my teacher Ursula Tenzin said, good intentions mixed with confusion are a recipe for disaster. That's helpful to know. So first, get clear about what's actually going on, and understand that you have a story about that person as well as them having a story about you. So first find out what their story is, and then you might be able to offer some helpful insight. Well, wow, did that go fast? That was great. Thank you so much.